Hey everyone, welcome back to Playing Quietly. My name is Ryan, and today we are talking about Remnant 2's first DLC, The Awakened King. We're going to be talking about my top 5 things that I'm looking forward to, or rather hoping for, in the coming DLC. So, starting things off at number 5 is more of a given, but I'm really looking forward to the expanding of the story and the lore of the game. Now, while I didn't find the story particularly compelling from Earth's perspective, and I really didn't like any of the characters, um, the three worlds that we visit were quite interesting. And I'm really looking forward to at least expanding on Losum. I found it very interesting that the box art for the game features Nimue, but in my first playthrough, I never even came across her. So I think it's going to be really interesting to see how the kind of multi playthroughs are going to affect the DLC story. All right, so coming in at number 4, I would really like to see an overhaul to Apocalypse mode. I saw more than a few people give the opinion that Apocalypse mode is really just kind of increased HP and enemies doing more damage, kind of to an annoying degree. You could make the argument that the affixes do change the boss fights, but in my opinion, they really just kind of make them more annoying. It would be interesting to see something along the lines of how games like WoW introduced different boss mechanics for different difficulty tiers. Um, I think that might be a little bit too difficult to implement for the core game, but definitely for the DLC, I think it would be something very easy to do. All right, and coming in at number 3, I would like to see some buffs and changes to some of the weaker or lesser used archetypes. This game has a ton of really fun and interesting archetypes, but unless it falls within Hugs or some of the God Tank builds, I really feel like they're very, very underutilized. And with the variety of builds that are actually doable, it just feels like there's not a lot of builds that are viable in endgame content. Basically, anything is viable if you are playing on normal or even especially easy mode. But if you get up to expert or apocalypse, then I feel like you're really locked into either Hugs or God Tank. And it would just be really nice to see all of the classes kind of brought up so that they are more on par with what we see in the meta for builds. For my number 2, it's going to fall very close to number 3. It kind of goes hand in hand, but I would like to see that some of the weapons that are underutilized get brought up to par. And I'm not talking about like the normal weapons that we can buy from the vendor, but there's a lot of really cool weapons that we can unlock that are really just kind of useless. Outside of course, very, very, very specific situational fights. Things like Enigma, even after it was nerfed, are still very, very good. Um, and it would just be really cool to see that some of those really interesting weapons that we have out there be brought up to par with, again, the meta. And last but not least is something that I don't want to see, and that is nerfs. Of course, nerfs can be done correctly. We just talked about Enigma and how Enigma was nerfed. That is a nerf done right. When something is so overpowered that basically any build has to be using it or they are putting themselves at a deliberate disadvantage, that's when something should be nerfed. And Enigma didn't even get nerfed into oblivion. It's still probably a top tier gun. That being said, nerfing never really feels good. It's not fun to have a toy and then have it taken away from us. I would much rather see all the items and classes get brought up to maybe not parity with the other classes and weapons, but at least close. And especially when we are in a strictly PvE game, there's really no reason outside of something just being either number one broken, which Enigma actually was, it was not working as intended, or something being just so crazy overpowered that it's far and away the best thing in the game. Outside of that, there's really not a huge reason in a PvE game to start hitting things with the Nerf bat. Alright guys, so those are my top 5 things I want to see or maybe don't want to see in some cases for the upcoming DLC, The Awakened King. If there's something that you'd like to see that I missed, be sure to let me know in the comments down below. I am really looking forward to The Awakened King. I can't wait to play it and start making content and guides for you guys. But until then, we'll see you guys next time. Have yourselves a good one.